right, everybody. I have a returning guest this week, another very special guest. Everybody, welcome back to the show, Travis Gibb. What's up, Travis?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. You didn't bring Mike with you this time, so I can't tell him how his thoughts on comics are wrong. It makes me sad.
I can't wait to talk to him about. Did you read the Golden Age book or New Golden Age?
Rage? That one?
The New Golden Age from DC.
Oh, I bought it, but I did not read it. This is going to make you sad, and I apologize in advance. I am not a big JSA fan. I'm a huge Jeff Johns fan. Like, I'll read anything he writes, but JSA is just not my thing. I don't care about Stargirl or I can't even think of the Panther Man. I can't even think of his name right now.
Wildcat.
Fighter. I'm a fan of you. Wildcat? Is it Wildcat?
Or Wildcat, yeah.
Yeah, see, I got it. Well, it took me a minute. I got there. Jay Garrett. Is Green Lantern still gay? Alan Scott Green Lantern's gay now or not gay? Or this one's not gay? I don't know.
This one is gay, yes.
Okay.
I'm actually the opposite of you. I am much more of a JSA fan, and I think Jeff Johns is a good writer, but vastly overrated.
So you didn't like Flashpoint? Is that what you're saying? Flashpoint Beyond? Because I thought that was really well put together.
I thought it was too, until he tried to shoehorn the Watchmen stuff into it. But I liked everything else about it. Yeah, but Flashpoint's my favorite Jeff Johns thing.
Okay, all right.
So,
yeah, I don't think I appreciated it at the time. You know, I had a friend of mine who was just getting into comics, and Flashpoint is what brought him in. And he was like, "Oh my God, Batman's his dad," and I was like, "That's not that impressive to me." But the Joker is his wife. That's I've seen evil Peter Parker's parents before. You know, I see an evil Batman parents is not stuff. But he loved it, and I think for me, it just came out of nowhere. That's what I didn't like about it. Right? It just came out of nowhere in the DC. We were all reading DC, and then the Flash randomly did this thing, and you're like, what is going on? Why is this happening? So I didn't love it, but I appreciated it.
See, I was much more of I'm still fairly Marvel Zombie-ish, but I was much more of a Marvel Zombie back then. And that was the book that, and like, people shit on the New 52, but the New 52 was the first thing where I started to be like, all right, let's check out like more stuff.
Right.
And got me to read stuff beyond just Batman and Aquaman. So I give that book a lot of credit, and I really enjoyed that story, and I liked all the side stories of it too. Once again, not being the biggest Spider-Man fan, I didn't have that same like, oh, I've seen this before, so that could be part of it.
No, I enjoyed it. I don't know. I just didn't see. I didn't see the point of it, I guess. Like it was just an alternate storyline, you know. And we had seen those, so I didn't get the love of it that everyone else had, and I didn't think that the renditions were super, super interesting. Like the weak Superman who was skinny, you know, because he was captured since he was a kid. Aquaman was a little bit more aggressive, right? He was like a warring, like
he was Namor.
He was Namor. He was Namor. And Namor's better because he says Imperious Rex.
Yes, you were 100% on the mark.
That's it. Like Aquaman, if he'd say Imperious Rex, I would even consider in the competition. But when I was watching that Black Panther movie, I was like, I'm going to tell you, this movie is shit if he doesn't say it. Like, I don't care how good the movie is if he doesn't say it. I won't spoil whether or not he said it, but if he didn't say it, I was going to be mad.
I'm going to see it tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. But and I think that an underrated book that he did was Forever Evil. It's not the headiest book or the wordiest book. It's a very simple, straightforward event book, but that's exactly what it was, and it was really enjoyable.
And I love villain covers.
Yeah, well, Crime Syndicate's just easy for me. Like,
sure.
I'm a simple mark for Crime Syndicate. But so back to Golden Age. Mike didn't really enjoy it that much, and he's like a huge JSA fan.
What?
And I was reading it, and I really, really like. I think it's the best thing he's done, probably since Forever Evil Aquaman. And a big part of that is we got the one true Huntress, the only Huntress that should ever exist. And I thought he just handled a lot of the characters really well, including Dr. Fate, who can be a weird character at times, but I really like the implementation of him too.
Well, I'm really happy with the new structuring. Like, you can tell that DC, the movie side, is not doing great. Hence why they're bringing James Gunn. They're doing a whole bunch of change. I think getting Jeff Johns off of the movie side in back into the comics is great. I mean, I'm sure he did great things to keep Shazam really good and all the things. You could tell the things that Jeff Johns touched, right? Like Aquaman. Like, he touched the first Aquaman. There is so many comic references, it's ridiculous. Like, oh my God, look at that tribe. Look at that area. Look, we're in the deep. We're in blah, blah, blah. Same thing with Shazam. You're like, wow, all these things are in this movie. Doesn't make it a good movie. It just has all the things that us fans like. I think it's better to have them in more as a consultant role than like active, like executive, like barking orders. I think like Bendis, like giving feedback for, Spider-Verse, him and Dan Slott coming in. I think that's a better role for Jeff Johns, and let him write comics, which he is really good at. That I even like the Watchmen thing. What was it called?
Doomsday Clock.
Is that it? What's that? Doomsday Clock. I even like that. I thought it was good. I don't think it was great, but it was good. It was way better than that Rorschach mini. I don't even know what that was about. Like, I'm still questioning.
Yeah, that thing. I dropped off of that one. Doomsday Clock should have been 4 or 5 issues. That's my only thing about it, is he dragged it on way too long.
Right. Yeah, no.
Even if you read it as one right now, I still think it doesn't pick up until like issue 7 or 8.
Right.
But I do think that kind of in my head has ended the conversation where we used to hear like, let the comics people write these movies, and it's just no. Like, it's a different industry, it's a different skill set, and I think what you need is someone like James Gunn or Kevin Feige, who is a movie person who has appreciation and love for the comics, and that's what's going to work best.
Because I assume that if any Marvel guy was in the room in the Sony Carnage thing, being like, hey man, he makes stabby things with his hands and no tongue. Like, that's all you got to do. Like, the rest, people will be happy. But no, you can't even get the basics of the character right. Like, you need at least the basics.
Sony frustrates the hell out of me. Like, if you told me, like, if someone walked up to me and was just like, listen, you own this property, and this person's going to do it for you, you're going to get 15% off the back end of it, and you have to do nothing. You sit back and just cash your check. I'd be like, okay, let's do it. But Sony has, like, somebody at Sony just has to be like, no, we can do it better. And I just want to grab them by the arms and be like, you can't. You cannot do it better.
Like, make your video games. You're very good at that. Go ahead. Yes. Make another system. Why don't you make PS5 available since it's 3 years old and I still can't buy it at Walmart? Why don't you work on that problem real quick?
I just saw one in the store today.
Really? It's a 3-year-old system, and it's so frustrating me that I can't just buy one if I want to. Like, I want one. I'm waiting for the day that I see one. See one and have $500. Those two things have to line up. But
so I have actually 3 like connected PS5 stories. I do have a PS5, but I went, before we did this, I went out and did my errands and my shopping, and so I was at Walmart and I saw a PS5 on the shelf. I was like, oh, cool, they're on the shelves now. Went about my day, went over to GameStop to pick up God of War, and somebody traded in a PS5. And it saddened me because I wanted to just buy it off them because they gave him $200. And I was like, I could just buy I'll give you $250 and I'll still be able to sell this to somebody for $400 or give it to a friend for $250.
I mean, you literally wait 30 days and you can sell it at Christmas for $7.
Yeah. And then as I am getting my copy of God of War, the guy answers the phone and he's talking about how they don't have any in stock right now, but for like Black Friday, they're going to have more. And I'm just sitting there going like, so GameStop's holding on to a bunch of PS5s to flood out on Black Friday to make themselves look good. That's cool.
Right. Jesus. Yeah, I really want one. Because it's time. My PlayStation beeps randomly. It tries to eject discs and beeps, and it's super annoying. But I'm just like, well, I'm so close to a PS5. I'm not going to repair my PS4. And then I don't get Here's the worst thing about gaming. I love gaming. But I'm always like, all right, I only have an hour to play because I have all these other things with comics to do. So I just play Apex Legends. That's it. Even though I have tons, I haven't beat God of War yet. I haven't beat Guardians yet. I haven't beat Avengers yet. Like, I haven't beat Miles Morales Spider-Man. I beat the regular Spider-Man. Like, there's all these games that I need to beat because I'm a completist. I don't buy a game that I don't complete. And I'm just like, no, I only have an hour. I'm going to play Apex. 4 hours later.
I have been making more of an effort recently. I started to feel drained with some of the stuff, and I started making more an effort to be like, you know what? I have all these video games sitting around, and I love video games. It's one of my favorite things, and I don't play them anymore. And I was like, I need to take time away from something and just sit down and do something I enjoy. And even like, I love comics. I love reading comics, but there's a purpose to it nowadays. And that's like one of those things where I started having things that aren't something I do for the show, for whatever, that are just for me, and started making time for those things. Like even in comics, like we don't talk about Star Wars comics on the show, and that's because Star Wars comics are for me. That's my thing. Like, I don't want to have to feel like I have to rush through Star Wars comics just to be able to talk about them on the show. I can just read them on my own time. So I've been making more of an effort for that. I really, and it's been good for me personally.
I absolutely, especially that Guardians of the Galaxy game. Like, it's not even hard to beat. I just haven't finished it. It's so good. I love it. And then Cyberpunk. Yeah. I really love Cyberpunk. I got to the midway point of Cyberpunk where you find out that, you're semi Keanu Reeves. I want to be Keanu Reeves. Like, I don't think I understand the game process. Like, I'm about all in. Let's let Keanu Reeves take over. Like, he's way cooler than the dude I made.
I started that game. I think I got to around the same point you are, because right after that, you can create your character. Or no, at the beginning of the game, you create your character.
Right.
And I was just like,
Keanu Reeves before you make your character.
Yeah. So I did the create a character, and I was having so much fun playing around with it. And then I realized there's a slider for your dong. Right. So I was like, well, I'm role playing. So of course I'm going to have a massive hog. And then you get to that point where, spoilers for Cyberpunk, everybody, you get to that point where you realize you're half Keanu Reeves and you're kind of resurrected. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, all my clothes are gone. So I'm just running around this town doing side missions, not realizing that I don't have armor on. But I never finished that game because I fell off of it. But that game was a lot of fun.
The other thing, too, is if you bought it early, it was so buggy. Like, it would just get frustrating. Like, you're playing the game and it's great, and then you accidentally not walked into a wall, and that wall is going to suck you up and confuse you and make you're crazy. And you're like, all right, cool. Like, I guess we're not playing this game anymore.
See, I got it into the point where they had done the next gen upgrade.
Oh, okay, all right. So you're good.
And it was, you got like a free 10 hours or something to play it. So I played it for 10 hours, and I was like, oh, it's $20. I'll buy it for $20 now. And I bought it, and then I stopped playing it.
Right.
As soon as they got my money.
Same thing. I got the Avengers game by Square Enix, and I love to play through the story mode and stuff, but there's a point where I've saved that it tries to skip me ahead, and I have to reset my PlayStation several times to get me back to the spot. It's really weird. Spoiler for that, Cap comes back. He's not dead. And for some reason, I never got to beat the mission where you save Cap. I know what I'm doing, but I didn't get the mission. So it'll start and it'll be like, Cap is on the main border giving me missions. I was like, no, because I must have like did it right before the boss. So it's just like, he would have beat it.
That game's screwy in how it was built. It should have just been a single player thing. Right. But that story is the first thing with Miss Marvel that I encountered that made me a Miss Marvel fan. Like, I loved how they handled her in that game.
Yeah, I think she's a great gateway character. I think she's better. She's a better 2022 version of Peter Parker, right? Peter Parker's supposed to be the everyman character. Well, now we're indicting with superheroes, especially with the movies and everything. We need someone who's a Miss Marvel who loves these people, loves these characters, and loves the world, like just as much as the person picking up the book, but doesn't know all the answers, which is great, right? Doesn't know all the dynamics of these characters, but like I said, I think she's great.
Her in that game, because I've been wanting to go back and read the comic version of her, but in that game she's such a fun, she's a fangirl, and just her love for everything is just like, it kind of re-sparked in me, like, yeah, this is how I feel. I'm an adult now, so I don't act like that, but that's how I feel about these characters. I like seeing that represented in this game, and then her getting to join it. It's the comic fan fantasy. Like, we get sucked in and we become an Avenger and we have superpowers. Like, that's what every comic fan kind of is. That's the fantasy they're playing. So I thought it was really well done how they handled it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're in this weird golden age, especially with you and I in our age, when we read books. We're reading really cool things, like we're reading Carnage from Marvel. We're like, oh, look, that's Eclipso. Why is he with Carnage? I don't care. It's Carnage and Eclipso. What? Venom's fighting Thor. This is probably going to suck because there's no reason for them to fight, but it's cool. That's what I remember from when I was a kid. Those covers going, why are they fighting? Gambit appearing on Moon Knight, I remember being thing, or the Round Robin series in Spider-Man, which had Moon Knight and Night Thrasher and Nova and all these characters. That was what was fun. And now they only get together on these big crossovers, or they get together too much, where it's like a fan favorite, like a rotating cast of characters instead of just telling a story. And then Marvel, really, really, I love Marvel, and take this with a grain of salt, Marvel, but it doesn't have to be storyline crossover, because that's what it feels like now. You get a 5-issue, then a crossover for 2 issues, 5-issue, crossover for 2.
I felt like they had it down for a while.
Yeah.
Where it was I know this one's a little controversial, but I still enjoyed it. I don't care. Nick Spencer does his run on Cap, and it was 3 or 4 years of Cap.
Right.
And then it leads into Secret Empire, and that's kind of where it ends for him. And then they did that with War of the Realms.
Right.
With Thor, and so on and so forth.
King Black, same thing.
Yeah.
Venom did his run, and then it was a big crossover. Yeah.
And then I did drop off of Eternals, to be fair, but Eternals hasn't been out that long, and you get Axe, and I read it, and I'm just like, what? No offense to Gillen or any of the creators, the art was phenomenal. Gillen's a talented writer, but I'm just like, what is this?
No, it was a great story, but you don't feel the same thing with Dark Web that's coming out. All this is new, recent developments.
Yeah.
Right? All these things. I'm super excited about it. I love the new Ben Reilly costume. I love all that. But, there's no crazy buildup. It's like, that. Why isn't that just a Spider-Man crossover, between Spider-Man and another Spider-Man book that runs 6 issues? Why does it have to encompass so much? Now it's a Spider-Man X-Men crossover. X-Men need to figure out their shit. They're doing their own thing, and as you know, because you're in the know, it looks like Krakoa is going away pretty soon, which is sad. That age is going away for us. And not that I don't think it should go away at some point, but I still think there's tons of cool stories to tell in that universe.
Well, and so in a world that I'm more involved in, the Cap books right now. So they did 2 Cap books, and they're really well done in everything they're doing. I don't know are you reading either of those books?
I'm not, but I am going to read the crossover because it looks really good. What is it called? Something War? What is the Cap?
It's Cold War.
Cold War, yeah, the Cold War. It looks really, really good.
So just as an example, like even when there's two creative teams handling each book, but even when they jump into things that can be, let's say, testy with some audiences, like politics, they handle it so well. Like when Sam and Black Panther are talking, and we talk about the difference between what someone like Sam, whose family was born in America, he probably has descendants that are slaves, and somebody like T'Challa, who was born in Africa, his family lineage is in Africa, and what the difference between those people are and what their experiences are as black men. Like stuff like that is handled really well, and I love what they're doing. And then they've got this overarching story about this organization that's coming in, but like tease me with it for a while instead of just by issue 10 being like, big story arc, we're going to bring the two together, give you an event. Like, okay, I'll get it, but I wish you would tease me a little bit longer and just like let it build and let it fester, as opposed to just trying to cash right in on that.
I just saw an interview, listened to it, like I think it was Word Balloon, and they had Mark Waid on, and he talked about it, and it may have been a rerun, and it talked about like writing Cap is so hard right now because we're such a divided country. Mm-hmm. Like what it means to be an American on both sides is very, very different. Back in the day, they at least had the definition of American was the same, and then we have these viewpoints that we disagree with. But mm-hmm. now what it means to be an American, there's a blue version and there's a red version. And I think it's so hard to write Cap right now because of that, right? Because he's supposed to be that uniting force between the two. And how do you do that? And I mean, I know they've had this problem in the past. That's why Nomad came out, et cetera, et cetera. But, it's so interesting when you think about Captain America. On paper looks like the easiest character to write in all of Marvel. Because you get to play the Man Out of Time stories. Those are fun. But he's mm-hmm. also the hardest because of all those other variables. The outside variables that are so important to Captain America.
That's why I like that they brought Sam back and said there's two Caps. Yeah. Because Steve should be more of the traditionalist version of what it means to be an American.
Right.
The idealist traditionalist version. Like he was born in the 1920s. He's served in World War II. Like that's who the character is. Where Sam can have more of a modernist and even a minority sense on what it means to be an American in this world. Like you can tell those two stories, which I think is genius, and they should keep doing. The only thing I ever have with Cap is that you're right, it is harder. It's also very easy for writers to get lazy. And I don't mean that totally derogatory, but like I thought that Ta-Nehisi Coates got lazy with how he wrote Cap. Because he wasn't writing Cap, he was writing Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Sure. Yeah.
And some people like that. Like that's fine. But that's how I felt when I was reading that book and why I didn't enjoy it as much. Is because
I mean, if any book could be an agenda book, I mean, it should be Cap, right? like
to an extent. I wouldn't want.
That's hard to hear, but
well, to use the extreme example, like if your agenda is like you're a communist and you want to write that agenda for Cap, like that doesn't work. Like I'm sorry, like Cap's not a communist. Right. But yeah, there's certain things in that, but it's also, you got to stay true to the character somewhat. And, Cap's gone against things in the past. Like, Cap was against the war on drugs. Like, Cap's been that character in the past. Sure. But it has gotten a lot easier for some people to jump in and be like, let's just throw my opinion out there, and that's who Cap is now. And I just read it, and I'm like, that's not who Cap is, people. Like, that's who you are.
I mean, that's fine. Why Civil War is so important for Cap. When he was pro the registration gap or anti it for such a long time. And then he realized what that repercussion comes. And he's like, all right, I'm switching sides. And they're like, oh, yeah, Cap switched our sides. No, I'm switching sides. I'm turning myself in. Like, we're done. Like, what? Yeah. Because that's Cap. He's like, I was wrong. I have to atone for my crimes. Like, that's what I do. I'm Captain America.
Yeah.
That's why I always feel like in the trade, I don't feel that the Civil War trade should end the way it ends. I think it needs that Cap issue, Cap 25.
Yeah,
it needs the death of Captain America to make that sit.
Well, I've said too, like you said, Cap can be one of the hardest ones to do right now. At the same time, when you're doing like a team book or a event book at that, Cap's the easiest character to use.
Oh yeah.
Like so many times, and I've been realizing it more and more over the years. I'm just like, man, Devil's Reign, when he pops in and Chip uses him, I wish Chip would do a Cap book because he knows Cap. And I'm like, no, like Cap's just so easy to pop in there and just be that inspirational character and then just leave.
Yeah, I mean, just look at it. Like, resurrecting Cap is the easiest call. No one's going to get upset about resurrecting Cap in the Marvel Universe, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know he's not a mutant, but he's also Captain friggin' America. And apparently you resurrected the Shield, which is really weird. I have some questions about Krakoa, but that's its own thing.
I have, honestly, so I was not a fan of Axe. I haven't talked about it much because I try to keep it positive, but that was one of the moments where I'm just like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, so does Cap not have the super soldier serum anymore? Like, because I know they're born with their mutant powers, but does the serum count? Like, it's me overthinking it as a comic fan. Yes, I admit it. But like, I'm like, can we at least explain how this works?
Well, the best part about Axe that I like is Captain America and Nightcrawler going, that's not God. That's just a thing.
Yeah.
You know who God is. I love it. Doesn't matter if he's God, Cap. He's going to destroy you. And he's like, nah, but that's not God. He can't really make that judgment. No, he really can, Cap. He's like doing it. Like right now. Cap's like, nah, that's much.
Well, it's like I said, he's the easiest character in those events. When he, at the end, sits down with the woman, the quote-unquote normal person, and they just have that moment and have coffee together, I was like, you can just throw that into every event, and it's always going to be beautiful. It's always going to be amazing. Like, it just works every time.
Agreed.
But,
so now on Major Day, we talk about Cap.
Yes. Talked about Cap.
We're done. We talked about Cap. Your favorite day. Like,
we can talk about Daredevil if you want. Speaking of, let's bring characters together.
Daredevil's appearance in a Punisher. I don't know if you saw my tweet because I got both Chip Zdarsky and Jason Aaron to reply to it. I said, this is the best line Daredevil has ever said, and Chip Zdarsky should have had it in a Daredevil book. Because the line was, it was death. What was it? Death do us part. Till death. Oh, that's my wife. No, it's death till do us part. To Punisher was like so good.
Yeah.
I also like the Chip Zdarsky joke. I don't know if you've heard. Every time he's had consensual sex, he has married the person because he's Catholic, and he has divorced them all off panel. I think that's important to the character.
And he checked with Charles Soule to make sure that works, and Charles even confirmed, like, that's legit. Yeah, that works.
Right. So,
have you watched Chip's Masterclass?
I have not watched Chip's Masterclass. I would love to watch a Masterclass with Chip Zdarsky.
If you get time, it's Chip making fun of Masterclasses. He puts it on his YouTube. And everyone out there, it's the funniest thing ever because like he literally in the second issue like gets caught in this. They're trying to create a character and how you create a character, and then somebody asked him, well, like, what race would he be? And he's like, well, he'd be like the perfect race. And then this girl in the background just like, so what's that, Chip? Huh? And he's like, like he just throws shit like that in there. I'm just like, I love Chip so much because he just does not take himself seriously, but at the same time takes himself so seriously.
We were talking like before we went live. I do a lot of the paid Substacks that I'm in. He appears in their like exclusive things, and he's always asking like the craziest questions that you wouldn't expect from a comic writer. He's always like, Brian Stegman, so your vanished numbers, is that more money than I'm making on Batman or no? I'm just curious that he was on Scott Snyder's. Hey, Scott, just random question for you, from the audience. Did you make more on Batman than I did? Can we compare? You're not supposed to talk about these things.
Man is a gem.
Yeah, Chip Zdarsky is better than we deserve. He is.
He is, and he's. It's funny. I've been telling my DC fans how great Chip is, and how you need to read Chip. You need to read Chip. And I have a few friends who just like the Marvel zombies in my life only read DC stuff, and now they're like all of a sudden like this Chip guy's really good. And I'm like, yeah, I've been telling you that for years.
Yeah, I had some DC friends who were like, they didn't like Failsafe. I was like, what? What don't you like about Failsafe? He's throwing back random Grant Morrison runs. Like, there is so much stuff in that run, and Failsafe is a very cool Batman villain. Like, he's very, very cool, especially with Batman Brooke. And Tim Drake was the opening Robin. Like, these decisions are so good. Like, and you don't even realize how good they are until after it's over. You're like, it's so good.
So my theory on Failsafe.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that this year is the 30th anniversary of Nightfall, right?
No, but it makes sense.
So I think Failsafe is supposed to break the bat to bring back Azrael.
Could be. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
It would suck that Chip had to write that, though, because I think Chip's Bruce is fantastic.
So I hope I'm wrong, because I really want to continue on the Bruce without Alfred story, because I don't think anybody's really dug into it.
Yeah.
And I do think there's something that could be special about Bruce trying to continue as Batman without Alfred there to like back him up.
Yeah, I mean, even Mark Waid, that issue 3 of Batman versus Robin, like that was so touching. The Alfred stuff, because we deal with it a lot in Robin, like Robin dealing with the Alfred death because of his cause of it.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the stuff, and even it kind of implies that Batman's kind of over it too. If you go to the Flashpoint Beyond, right, when he's like, "Well, I know because of the letter that he's fine." No, dude, that dude encouraged someone to break your Alfred neck. I know Bane did it. Your dad was a significant part of that problem.
Yeah.
Maybe nobody told you, Batman, but like he was a significant part of that situation. But whatever. But no, I think it's possible. But if you look at what they did for Superman, it was just a little story, which I think was great. Did you read that Death of Superman little one shot? The Dan Jennings story?
Death of Superman was like way before my time. Mm-hmm. So I don't have the reverence for it. Okay. To be fair.
It was really well written. They created a new Doomsday character, but it's not directly Doomsday, which is really cool. It looks like Doomsday, but it's not Doomsday, which I thought was really, really well done. Give us something new. Because a lot of those, they always feel like fillers, right? These anniversary issues,
Mm-hmm.
They always feel like fillers, where I feel like, yeah, it's 100% a filler, but we gave you a new character, so enjoy.
I've been thinking about just picking it up and reading it, because I'm pretty sure I have a review copy in my drive somewhere, but because I do want to read the new Action Comics, because I like Power Girl. that's a character I've always really enjoyed. The boob window really touches me, but
can understand.
Whenever she shows up, I really enjoy her. So the fact that she's getting stories in Action Comics again, I was like, oh, I'll read Superman again. If it gets me some Power Girl, let's do it.
I am a Superman snob. Like, if you get the best writers in, I'll jump in, right? Like, I read a little bit of Bendis. I read, before that it was Scott Snyder. Not Scott Snyder. Straczynski came in and did an arc. Brian K. Not Brian K. Vaughan. 100 Bullets, Brian. What's his?
Azarella.
Right? Azarella did a run of Superman. I was like, oh, okay. That's how you get me for Superman. Like, I don't care about Superman, but if you get the right writer in, I'll read it.
Yeah. So Bendis, I read through. I started with Philip Kennedy Johnson.
Okay.
Because the man's superstar.
Did a great job.
Yeah, but I just kind of financially it fell into a place where I had to drop it. That's why I did drop it. And then I'm considering with Joshua Williamson. But
wait, he's taking over?
Yeah, he's taken over.
Interesting. And not
I'm
like
not a big John Kent fan.
Right.
And John's kind of a part of the book now. And we'll see. I might check it out because if he's just the side character, like to be the son of Superman again,
right?
Even as an adult, I could live with that.
It's so weird because Joshua Williamson is, as far as I can tell, is the architect of the DC universe right now.
Yeah, he is.
You know, which, by the way, you know, based on his Flash run, he's definitely the guy to do it. And even I am enjoying Dark Crisis. I'm enjoying it immensely.
It's great.
Not bothering me at all. I know some people don't like it, but it's not bothering me at all. I'm enjoying every issue. I'm loving the cameos. I'm loving the throwback to the original. You know, I love that we have all these the new Batman, the new Wonder, like that became these new characters. You know, something that DC loves to do, create new Elseworlds. But I love that they didn't get these crazy miniseries or like try to expand them. Just kind of like, oh, here's a little taste of what could be. If you like it, we'll go back to it. Instead of their normal 5-issue arc of Clockwork Batman, 6-issue arc of Wonder Woman angry. I don't know what Wonder Woman's doing, but
for me, I really enjoy it because it is a deep book. Like there's a lot going on, but it's also simple. It's like this is what it is. It's another Crisis. Everybody, don't overthink it.
Right.
And I like that. Like not everything has to be the deepest like book in the world that like changes my world. Like it can just be a fun event that has some really great moments in it, you know, and that's what that book is. I really enjoy it.
And I really think it's a statement to the fans, a solid statement from DC. You think we're replacing the things you love, but we're not. Because, you know, you got Jonathan Kent creating this Avengers quickly. Not Avengers, JLA really quick. And Black Adam's like, this isn't JLA. It gets its ass kicked. And then Nightwing, who's the real second generation of what needs to lead, is still dealing with the Beast Boy thing. And then when he comes, things start to fall into place. I think that's a statement to the fans. You guys think we're putting all of our cards in John Kent, but he's not there yet. And we understand that. We're showing it. I think this is a visual representation of we're not doing what you think we're doing. There's a reason why Nightwing book is super good right now. Trust us. We have bigger plans. Like, trust our investment in this universe and these characters. Because I think the Bat books, because that's primarily what I read, are better than they've been in years. I think that they all have a unique feel and storylines. And the things that they're doing in Nightwing, everything seems like it was always like let's get it back to the Chuck Dixon era. Like, how do we get it back to the Chuck Dixon era? And then a writer would come in, they'd kind of do it, and then they'd be like, no, you didn't quite get it. Fired, next guy. No, you didn't quite get it. Fired, next guy. No, you did it, but it became a Daredevil issue, so you can't do that. It's now Daredevil. We don't want that. Like, and then...
Now he's James Bond.
Right. Now he's James Bond. Right. What are we doing here? And then he's like, you know, Nightwing's a legacy character. He's just as legacy character as Batman. So that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the Titans make appearances. They never made appearances, you know, in those old runs.
I think that DC definitely had a plan at some point that they were going to replace the legacy characters with new Justice League. Yeah. That was definitely a thing that was going to happen.
Yeah. That was 52. 100% was the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, even recently with...
Yeah, what was 5G. It called? It was 5G. Yeah, 5G. That was 100% the plan. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
And they had started down that path, and then they fired Didio and kind of moved on from it, because I think they realized that it wasn't a good idea. And issue 4 or 5, when Nightwing comes out and says, like, no, we're not the Justice League, we're the Titans.
Right.
And they attack. Like, that was the moment of, like, yes, we have these new characters that are young, up and coming. Are this, but they're not the Justice League. They're the Titans.
Right.
They're this other team that we've had since forever, that you guys love and care about, and we can do things there and do new things with them and bring them up and make them important characters. And then the following issue, what happens? Spoilers, everybody. Huge spoilers. But the following issue, what happens? The Justice League comes back.
Right. The real Justice League.
Yeah, so I think you're right, but that was a sense of like, we're not going to replace these characters, but it's okay if we bring in new characters and we create new things.
Right.
And try to do something different with them. And if they fail, they fail. But at least we're trying to do new things. And it was them saying we can do both. And that's all I said from the beginning with 5G was like, you don't have to. It was kind of a criticism I had with Marvel back in the day, even though it worked out for them really well, where like, you don't have to replace Thor with a female Thor. Even though that was an amazing story and I liked it, if you really want more female representation in your books, you could either promote the female characters you have or create new ones and build them up. It's not going to happen overnight, everybody.
Right.
Like, everybody thinks that they make this character and it fails after 6 issues. And they're like, well, no, everybody's going to buy Cap books. Everybody's going to buy Batman books. It's like, but Cap and Batman weren't always Cap and Batman. Like, they've been around for 80 years, people.
Yeah.
You got to give these characters time. You got to put effort into them. Look what they're doing with Miles right now. Sure. They're putting him through the gauntlet. They're making him a better character. Sure. And that's what DC learned during that time period, was like, we need to not just age up Superboy to make him Superman. Like, we need to grow him into a point. Like, that's why people love Nightwing, because he was a kid when they met him, and then when they became a teenager, he became Nightwing, and then he led the team, and now he's an adult on the same level as them, and he's this great hero on his own, and he doesn't have to be Batman. He can be Nightwing.
Yeah, I think Marvel, Thor is a bad example to use for that. And just because, I don't know if you know this, but Thor, like, that saved Thor. Like, the sales of Thor skyrocketed at that point and stayed up since that point.
Yeah.
But at the time, they replaced everybody at the same time, right? We had a new Cap. We had a new...
It's more the spirit of it is what I'm talking about. Like, sure, that is a bad example in a vacuum, but like the spirit of it, where like the only way we can get these representation is if we replace these old characters. That was kind of what I was throwing out there, where it did work at Marvel in a lot of ways, but it was Marvel's a bad move in the long run.
Marvel's messed up their whole career, right? Only the X-Men had Generation.
Mm-hmm.
X-Men had, New Mutants, Generation X, then whatever Grant Morrison did in that time, and now I don't even know what generation they're at. But they have these generations. They have several generations of X-Men that you can track down lineage wise, where nobody has that really in the rest of the MCU. Mm-hmm. So they've really kind of failed on that, and they're starting to build that up. They're starting to get that going. But again, like I said, it takes time. Nightwing didn't come. Right out the bat and was the most popular character in the world. He was with opposition when he came out, but you just stuck with it and you believed in what he was doing and you can kind of make it, and now you look at the Marvel universe, they've done great on that. You've got now Bucky and now you've got, Falcon Cap. Now you've got a generational Cap. Well, I mean, you kind of always had it because you got Nomad and you got a US Agent, but you've got these things that if you just use them properly instead of just throwing them away, because Marvel had a really bad habit. They would change a character just so they could revert it back, and it was very obvious. And they would never give this new character a time of day. We're coming to 50. We need to replace Cap so we can bring it back at 50. Right?
Well, that's why Miss Marvel works too. Miss Marvel is Marvel's Nightwing, because Nightwing came about. They had the Titans, blah, blah, blah. Then he had to be his own character. Well, they had this, in the real world, they had this trademark for a character named Nightwing.
Right.
Oh, we'll just use that. So he became Nightwing. And Miss Marvel's kind of the same thing. Like, Carol became Captain Marvel.
Right.
But they still had this character Miss Marvel. So what do we do with it? Well, let's let this new character, Kamala Khan, come in and be Miss Marvel. Like, that's kind of the same transition there. And that's... less people are upset over that than they are over the character I love, whoever, Daredevil, is now not Matt Murdock. Let's just say not Matt Murdock, just to be safe. That's going to upset people because yes, they love Daredevil, but they also love Matt Murdock.
Right.
Like, and I just seeing them learn that lesson now and how it's kind of changing mainstream comics and getting those things that, you know, was a big fight and still is a fight to an extent, was a big fight for a long time of getting different characters and different people in, is now starting to work because they're actually putting in the hard labor instead of just wagging their finger and saying Cap's this guy now, or, you know, Daredevil's this guy now, or whatever.
Right.
And I'm really happy about that because, like I said, I think it's working, and I think you're seeing less. And maybe I'm in a bubble, I don't know, but I'm seeing less bitching and moaning about it, and more just like, oh, I really love that character, you know.
Yeah, and people just really need to realize that everything's temporary in comics. If you don't like something, it's okay to drop it for a little bit. I think it's hard. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's hard to do that. It's okay to drop a storyline to show that you don't like it, but that's the way you need to do it. Complaining on the internet's not going to help you. Like, they will keep doing it because you're complaining on the internet because they're not hearing your message. You know, they're not hearing it. What your real issue is, you know. Female Thor. Nobody thinks that Jane Foster as Thor is not a bad idea. It's that they like Thor. So figuring that out, it's not that it's a bad idea. It's that they like Thor. Cap Falcon is a great idea, but that doesn't mean we don't like Steve Rogers, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why I love I mean, once again, just another of 1,000 examples that throw out there. Valkyrie. Like, Jane becoming Valkyrie was an amazing idea. Yeah. Because I still get Jane as Thor while still getting Thor as Thor.
And I think Valkyrie is a really cool character. Like, yeah. I think it's a really cool transition to her being a doctor. I think it gets closer to her, like, real life. I think Valkyrie is really, really cool. I hope it sticks because I keep throwing her back in the Thor costume. Like, right now she's in the Thor costume, but I really want her to just be Valkyrie. You know, just be Valkyrie. Like, it's cool to be Valkyrie. Valkyrie's cool. We need a Valkyrie. I don't care about the old Valkyrie that much. I never did. Like,
I think it'll stick now. I think the only reason you saw her back in the costume was because a movie came out.
Yeah. I think it was a storyline. Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with it, but I want it to stick.
So with all that, man, like, what are books you're really liking right now? I mean, there's got to be something you're reading that I'm not.
So Lovesick that just came out this week was really, really good. I didn't think I was going to like it, but it's really, really good. That's an Image book. What do I like? Let's see. My favorite. I'm really liking Thunderbolts from Marvel. The Thunderbolts is really, really good. Really love the team. Really love the dynamics. Really fits my old classic Marvel New Warriors vibe. So it gets that vibe to me. What else am I reading?
See, I'm a Thunderbolts purist.
Yeah, I understand. I get it. I get being a Thunderbolts purist, but they've ruined that team. They've decided that it's not a Suicide Squad ripoff, and they've done all these crazy things with it.
I've tried it a few. I mean, I love the original run, obviously, and I even like the run where they brought back, like, most of the original team and said Bucky's in charge. Like, that was an interesting dynamic. But I just want my Thunderbolts to be the Suicide Squad at Marvel.
Right.
That's what I want. And they keep kind of doing it, but then tearing it away at the same time. And then they try this thing where it's like, we're going to take the name for good. I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to read it.
No, I get it, but I think it was really well written. I hope they do. I hope it goes beyond 5 issues. It's really, really good. Like, really, really, really good. Like, I enjoy it immensely.
I'm glad. Clint needs a book.
Clint needs a book. That is a fact.
Yeah.
What else am I reading? Just read. Trying to think about my weekly poll because there was a lot of good stuff. Vanish. I'm sure you're reading that, but that's so good, so good.
Yeah.
I'm really liking the Turtles right now. This new run, this new storyline. I know it's a lot of issues, but I really like it. Like, way too many issues. Like, way too many issues, but I like it. It's got to be something. I wish I just read a bunch of comics last night. I'm brain fogging of everything that I'm reading because I'm reading a lot of Image, I'm reading a lot of Marvel, I'm reading a lot of DC. Oh, I really like Azura the Bard from Scout. That's a really good book. Killcella that came out this week from Scout was also really, really good. Highly recommend.
Killcella sounded fun.
Yeah, no, and it was 100% what you expect. It was a lot of fun, not a lot of storyline, which was great. I think those are the things that I'm most excited about right now, until something new comes out.
Yeah, you're the only other person I know too that reads Moon Knight, which makes me happy too.
Oh, I love Moon Knight. I love anything Jed McKay. Like the fact that I read Black Cat and enjoy it is because of him. You know, no, Moon Knight is such a good book. It's written well. I mean, She-Hulk is really good. Bloodstained Teeth is really good. I don't know if you read either of those.
No.
You want me to tell you something that it is a weird flaw in my Marvel writing? Reading, I mean. Yeah. I cannot get into a Cantwell book.
I like Cantwell when he's doing not in continuity stuff.
I have not found and I apologize, Chris. I know that if you're listening to this, because you know all the big people listen to this program, so I need to make an apology. So, Chris, I just don't get you. Like I don't understand. Like I try everything, every first issue, and I'm like, Iron Man. I was like,
So Iron Man's a character. Not for me. That's what it comes down to. Sure. Blue Flame was really good until it just disappeared. Still waiting for that to end. And then I mean, part of it is just I don't get Namor books very often, so the fact that there's a book with Namor on the title makes me happy.
And I
did like that first issue of Namor.
I didn't buy it because his name was on it. I think there is a book that I have to read though. It's on my I think he's taking over. Oh, he's writing the Golden Glider. So to read my Spider-Man trilogy, I have to friggin' read his book. He's the Green Goblin character.
Oh, the Gold Goblin that I've been hearing so much about.
I think it's called the Golden Glider is the name. I don't think it's even Goblin. Could be Gold Goblin, but I don't think so. I think it's Golden Glider.
Doing wacky things over there in Spider-Man land.
Yeah. Zebulon's killing it, though. It's good.
I'm glad Spidey fans are liking it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. He's doing a great job.
Yeah, honestly, another book, I know it's a friend of yours, but dude, Savage Avengers, possibly the first time I've cared about 2099 since the first time they did 2099.
You know why? Because it's the first time it's real 2099.
Yeah.
All these other ones they keep adding, they're like Spider-Man, and then a couple of characters that you like, and then a couple of new ones. No, it's not real. Like, this is the real 2099 continuity, not all the other stuff. So I think that's why. I think David Pebos is a 90s kid, so he's got all that stuff in there. You know.
Yeah, I'm glad he's having fun over there. I want him to succeed.
Yeah. I thought his Fantastic Four 2-issue arc was really good, too.
I read the first issue, and I was kind of like, okay, and I moved on from it. But once again, Fantastic Four is very hit or miss for me. And
it's only a 2-issue arc. You can read the second one. Like, you don't have to read a whole bunch. Just get the second issue.
It's a whole like 10 minutes of my day. It's it's a whole thing.
Right. It's $4. I understand.
No, I'll pick it up one day. So, anyways, you didn't just come here today to talk to me about comics, although I'm sure.
I mean, I did.
I know I'm having fun.
We can talk about other comics that I specifically have something to do with if you'd like.
So, yeah, now that we're like almost an hour in, why don't we talk about the books that you're working on that you have stuff going on for? So, I mean, both are pretty immediate, but I guess we can start with Coins of Judas. So, What is this book?
So as we know that you have been a Kickstarter fan of mine for a while, so you back all my Kickstarters and you buy all my stuff. But you get sad when you go to your comic store and you're like, where is Travis? I don't see him. Like, do you have any Travis Gibb stuff? And they're like, who? So me and a bunch of comic stores get together and we're like, let's fix that. And that's how Coins of Judas came together. It's Band of Bards, which is a new publisher. It's a brand new title. It has not been on Kickstarter. And it's about when Judas throws the 30 coins of silver on the ground. It spawned demons, 30 different demons based off of the most vile things that you could buy with a coin. So like child labor or, prostitution or whatever sin you could buy with it, the worst sins that you could buy. Each coin represents a demon. Those demons are loose on the world, and we meet a family that's hunting them. So this is a brother and sister who are hunting them. And it's a legacy of their family been demon hunters. So it's a cool book, very superhero-ish, kind of like a supernatural, like Ghost Rider type superhero-ish. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of manga influence, which is fun. It's only 2 issues. We're doing a 2-issue arc now and a 2-issue arc later. But they're going to be 2-issue arcs. They want to try something new over there at Band of Bards. Because sales go down on 4-issue arcs. So what if we did 2-issue arcs and see what happens?
Yeah, and that's smart. I've been seeing a lot of people playing around with that. We brought up his name 3 times already, but like Brubaker's doing that with his trade thing.
Yeah,
and I like that idea because especially with a small publisher, like you got to do something to stand out. And I mean, first and foremost, the artist you're working with does really make it stand out. I think it's one of the best artists you've worked with.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
How did you hook up with them? Like him?
So him and I have been friends for years. He did actually a backup story of issue 2 of Broke Down 4 Dead Bodies. He did like the backup story in it. And we've just been friends for a little bit. We've done some stuff. He does kind of manga influence. So we don't talk a lot about stuff because he's very manga influenced and I'm not. But so this story, they had an anthology called Into the Static, which is coming out, I think, right now in previews. And I submitted Coins of Judas. I submitted the story. I had like a 7-page story that, don't tell anybody, it was a Wolfenheart Mad Cave for their talent search. I wrote it for that. And then I rewrote it for this thing and gave it its own continuity, took out Wolfenheart and made my own characters. And they loved it. They're like, we don't want you in this anthology. And I was like, that's sad. But we want to do an issue. We want to do this book. Can we do this book as a full-on book? And I was like, oh, I don't know. So, and that's why I asked Tyler, like, because Tyler wouldn't be someone I'd normally think to ask as my art team. I was like, Tyler, are you interested in doing a book with me? Because he committed to like 5 pages, no big deal. But do you want to do a book? And he said yes. And that's how it came to be. He committed to it. So we committed to the 2 issues. The 2 issues are done. Which is really cool. Did you get a chance to read what I sent you? Did you read it?
I have not yet, no.
Okay. That's okay. It's really, really good. We've got some great cover artists, too. We've got a lot of store exclusives coming. We've got Stan Yak on one. We've got Rich Woodall. We've got, who else? We got, what is his name? Carl Moline. Is his name. We got a whole bunch of really cool variant cover artists. Kyle Willis, doing all bunch of stuff. Stan Yak, like great stuff coming out for it. So people have been vibing about it. I think it's going to do well. I'm excited about it. And I think it's the closest thing to a superhero book I've written so far. Awesome. And I think people wanted me to write superheroes, and I really want to write superheroes. So this is my superhero book, and I'm excited about it.
So I know this is your first foray into kind of the direct market. Not your last. Have you announced what the other book is?
I announced Great Escape Punk. Yeah.
Okay. So far in this process, what's been the biggest difference for you doing it through a publisher as opposed to your Kickstarter books in the past?
Those deadlines come up so fast. So fast, for the publisher. So we're doing the book, we're putting the book out, we have our deadlines, but when I do something for Kickstarter, I can just launch when I want. If it's late or something, I can wait a week, no big deal. But so the deadline was, I think it was September. No, it was, not September. What's September? Yeah, September. September 18th, I had to get all my solicits. So I had to get 2 covers done, as many pages as I could, and solicit. Then it comes out in November, in the November previews. And then I have literally the month of November to hit everyone up to buy it, as well as running my Kickstarter and doing all that. That's a lot of work, and it's a lot to do. And it's comic stores don't care, right? I'm not gonna. It's not that they don't want to take a chance on me. That's not it at all. But they know getting 1 or 2 books is not going to save their company. It's deciding whether or not they should get 150 Spider-Man or 150 Batman, right? Which one's going to sell more? That's their concern. The 2 or 3 books to me, though it's the biggest deal for me, is not the biggest deal for them. So trying to make enticing for that, trying to figure out my fan base, right? I built a Kickstarter fan base. How many of them go to the comic stores? I've said on your show many a times, a lot of the podcasters that I go to don't read normal comics. They just read Kickstarter comics. So I don't get an hour conversation of what's new with Batman, Superman, or any of these characters. They don't care. They have zero interest in that. So that's been the biggest hurdle, is trying to figure that out and trying to get into as many stores as possible so people can learn about who I am and be able to leverage it to something new, in the future.
I feel like the toughest part for me would be the cold call to the store.
Yeah.
Like I know a retailer personally, and good guy, I love him to death, but if I don't order a book like Coins of Judas, he ain't gonna bring it in.
Right. Exactly.
It's just the honest truth. And I've seen, to be fair, I've seen a lot of Kickstarter guys call or email him or something, and they come with some ridiculous numbers, like, get my book that's 22 pages and you're going to charge $8 for, and he's like, nobody's going to buy this. But but even then, like, seeing those conversations live, I'm like, oh, that'd be tough, because you're calling somebody trying to take a chance and you just want to sell 1 or 2. And like you said, like, it's not really worth their time.
Right. Yeah, no, it's tough, it's 1 or 2, and I do what I can, every comic store I've done, I'll help you sell them. I'll do whatever I can to help you sell them. It's how do I get that market, make anything. And then the other thing that hurts me too, no offense to Vanna Bards, they're a smaller new publisher that not a lot of people know. So they don't have a lot of trust in, right? It's not a Scout or Source Point or a Dark Horse, that have been around, or an Aftershock that's been around for a while, that, it has Aftershock in the title, and think I have 2 or 3 people who will buy / look at all Aftershock books, right? There used to be that old statement, order 1 of everything for Image. Make sure that you order it because it's an Image title. Any of them can explode. And I think that a lot of stores still have that. So I'm asking them to do it. And even if I get into their store, the odds of me selling is a little tough too, because I'm going to be all the way in the back, right? Marvel, DC, Image, Aftershock, like all that. Then they're going to throw me at the bottom of a row and hope that I get picked,
That's why all the retailers out there, your book should be in alphabetical order, not by publisher.
Right.
Yeah, and it's tough too, because I think it was Boom recently. So Boom announced that all their 8 covers are returnable now.
Right.
Like, Band of Bards is still small. I don't know whether or not they're offering that, but I'm pretty positive that they aren't.
Right.
And that is tough too. Like, if it was returnable, I'm sure they'd be like, yeah, sure, let's bring in 10 copies, see what happens. But yeah, I get that. How is you've been trying to get, I've been seeing you out there schlucking yourself to everybody. How has it been trying to get the store exclusive covers?
It's been good. It's been good. I think we've got 8 so far. I think we'll end up with 10 towards the end. So there'll be, which is great. That's a crazy amount, which is good. I will say though, it's a lot of people in my network. It's not a lot of new people, which is sad. I'd love to get, these are people who I've had previous relationship with who trust and can sell Travis Gibb books, which I get. That's just kind of the way it works, right? Like, they're the ones who are willing to take a risk on me. But I was hoping that I'd get a store in your area, New York, that I don't really have a relationship with, who are just like, dude, this book sounds cool. How do I get an exclusive cover? That hasn't really came in, but the fact that I'll have so many, and I think that'll help. I think that those exclusive covers will do tremendous amount for me, because those exclusives will go on Whatnot or, eBay, and people will be like, what is this exclusive cover for this book? How did I get it? How did I miss it? What do I get it? So I think it's going to pay dividends in the back end for everybody, for Band of Bards and stuff. But getting that has been tough, and it's all been relationships and basically people who I'm going to I'm going to help them sell it, you know?
Well, a lot of those stores getting local artists to do it too, or are you pushing the artist on them?
A mix of both. So some of them are getting local artists. Some of them are getting bigger name artists. Like I said, I've got some big name artists, and then I've got some smaller name artists doing some stuff.
Yeah, a store near Buffalo gets friend of the show, Kevin Delgado, does a lot of covers for them. And they get a lot of push with those books. I mean, to be fair, a lot of them are Image, or one was Nottingham. So, like, they're bigger titles, to be fair. But they do get a lot of push because they can bring Kevin in to be like local guy. He's created his own books. He's, he was just published by Source Point and all this stuff, and can do signings there with them too. And I've noticed a lot of success there, but that's one example locally.
Yeah, and that's basically what it is for me. It's they want a local artist and they want me to come so they can do a double signing, and anything they don't sell, they can flip. Band of Bards, however, has probably the cheapest exclusive rate. So if anybody's on here who's a store and listening, it's $5 an issue, minimum 50 order. So that's not much at all. Really that's why I even had a podcast reach out and go, that's really cheap. I'm going to do one, So Sparks Comics, You Promised Me Comics, they're a great little podcast. They bought an exclusive because of that. They're just like, oh, let's try one. Let's see if we can sell to our network.
That is interesting. Yeah. Have you gone through that process with Scout yet?
So the Scout is very, very different. It's 250 minimum order, and trying to get that. So that's a lot tougher to sell that. So the Granite State Punk. And then there is some mentalities for certain stores that, because it's been Kickstarter, I've already sold it to the audience, which is not true at all. Like, no. You were all in for Granite State Punk. I am sure you're going to buy every exclusive because it's now a thing, right? It's now attached to you in some way. Chris is like, don't put me on that.
No, it's true. Like, I'm going to hunt down. I mean, I'm going to be coming down to your neck of the woods next year too. Right. So I'm sure I'm going to be hunting down in a bunch of those stores.
Yeah. Trying to hunt down these store exclusives, it's really the saddest thing. Never mind. I can't. This is the first time ever in any podcast. Mark this at 1:14. I am not going to share something on the air. This is the first time ever.
But so their numbers are higher and everything, but you haven't noticed whether it's been easier to be like, well, it's Scout, like Scout. It's not
been easier because I don't know if I should throw under the. There was a little bit of controversy. So Scout had sold some of their exclusive covers on Whatnot. So there was a controversy that happened with Scout for a little bit. So some of the bigger people stopped doing it. But the other thing is too, Whatnot has kind of flooded the market. If you haven't noticed, variant covers for independent books are down. Like, they're not selling as much as they used to. I think that trend's over. Like, I don't think it's as big as a thing. Also, we're in decline right now with money. A deficit, if you will.
Some might call it a recession.
Some may call it that. Some may call it that, but I heard that word is made up. That's what I heard from somebody.
No, they just changed the definition. But that's what I was just curious if Band of Bards is brand new, if there was like more of a cachet. But you're right, I forgot about that controversy, and I know Whatnot themselves had a controversy like that recently too. Yeah, they're publishing comics now, apparently.
Yeah, they're publishing comics as well. So it's been a thing. So that working all that, but I think we're at 3 exclusives right now for Granite State Punk, maybe 4. So we're good, and we're still early for Granite State Punk because that doesn't come out till March. So I don't think I'd see any exclusive like offers until like January, where people would be like hunting us out. But I have a feeling that is where I'm going to see like, knock on wood, like a Comic Tom go, hey, I'm interested in some of those, because he does exclusives for certain Scout books, and there's certain retailers who are like, well, hey, what do you got coming out? So I think that's where the bigger publisher will help out.
Okay. So I have so currently Coins of Judas is in previews.
It's in previews.
Everybody can
you want the diamond
check out the previews catalog.
I can give the diamond codes for anybody who's. It's November 221319 and 221320.
And I'll remind everybody at the end, but that will be in the show notes.
And there is a 1 in 20 too. Just if you are not aware, it's a shiny coins. The coins are all going to be foil, which is pretty cool on the Staniak cover.
It's not a comic book until there's a shiny cover.
It's not a comic book until there's a shiny cover, right? Yeah. I need hollow foil and metal next, so let's get to work, guys.
Emboss like DC's doing now.
It's so funny because someone pointed out, like, and I didn't think about it at the time. They're just like, look at all these Boss covers. And they're like, I don't think DC did this in the past. I think that was a Marvel thing. And then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, that was a Marvel. DC never did that. It's DC for once going, oh, we're going to steal your idea, son.
Well, yeah, it's funny because recently when you look at that, DC did that. DC's doing the 100th birthday tribute to Stan Lee. Marvel's not.
Right.
But so you have not seen any, you don't know how that book's doing right now. You're still kind of in no man's land trying to get it out to people.
Which one?
Coins of Judas.
Like sales-wise, yeah, I wouldn't know. I think the sales are due on the 18th, I think, this month. So I won't know until like the end of the month is when I'll know the sales numbers. So I'm hoping good. I'm shooting for 3,000. I'll throw some numbers out there, which is, I think a small publisher is like 2,000. I'm hoping that with my cred from Kickstarter and stuff that I can pull in 3.
Good. Speaking of Kickstarter, I'm becoming a pro with this. You also have a book on Kickstarter right now.
I do.
So what book is that, and what's that one all about?
So Holiday Spirits 2 is out. Holiday Spirits is our annual Christmas. We didn't know it was going to be annual, but it became annual. It's a horror anthology, and it has some of the bigger names of indie comics. It's got Brian Hawkins, who does Vineyard and Black Cotton. Vineyard, are you reading Vineyard for Aftershock? So good.
No, I'm not.
Really, really cool. It's about a family who has to do ritual sacrifices to the earth god to get the best wine. It's pretty cool.
I live like right near Naples, New York, so it's way too close to
too close.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
Start hunting monsters. But we got David Galliano from Savage Bastards from Mad Cave. We got Stoney Williams from Villainous from Mad Cave. You've got
Stoney.
Yeah. You've got Adam Barnhart, who did Shit Show. We've got some great covers, some amazing covers for this. We've got Dr. Seuss, Homage. We've got all sorts of really cool things in here, which I really like. But yeah, there's small short stories that are told much like Cthulhu Invades Oz in Wonderland, with a one narrative that goes through, and I write the narrative that goes through. So it's pretty fun. We've got a lot of cool stuff. My wife has a story in it about Karens on Black Friday, so you need to read that. So some good stuff.
So you said you have the overarching story in there, and then like you got a bunch of, people we've had in the show, great names, making great books throughout it. And you're Jerome, he's not really your letterer, even though he is. He's kind of your, what'd you call him? Producer?
No, he's our letterer, but he's our guy, right? He's the production manager, I guess would be kind of the thing. He handles putting all the books together. This is his anthology. He gives me creator credit because I had a really good idea, but it's his. He formats the teams. He gets them all together. He gets them to write things. So he hires all the artists, hires the colorist, hires all that stuff, and I kind of just publish it. And again, I write the overarching story that ties everything together because that's kind of a skill set of mine. But yeah, and it's the same character from Volume 1. So we did the Krampus Killer in Issue 1. We're doing like a flashback story of his trial for this one.
And yeah, so it's Jerome. You've always said to me, you've said it publicly too, it's really Jerome's book.
Yeah.
How has that been to have someone like Jerome on your team? Like, I know he's there for every book you're doing. He's a very dependable guy. I worked with him once. He's a great dude. How has having him like in your back pocket been for you personally and professionally?
Oh, I love him. He's my best friend in comics. You know, he's always with my ideas. He always has great ideas that he presents to me. But he trusts. We trust what each others are good at, which I think is a good, strong suit of ours. You know, he's the most generous guy in the world. You know, he's always trying to help each other. He's coming down from MegaCon. If you guys are coming down to MegaCon, he's bought his ticket. He's going to be at the Orange Cone table, which is awesome. He'll be at the Orange Cone table doing stuff with us, which is very, very cool. But no, he's great. And I wouldn't do a book if it wasn't Jerome. Like if someone in fact, people have come to me, hey, will you publish my book? And I'm like, no, I really gotta trust, you know, I've got to have that mutual trust that it is what we're doing is perfect. You know, the only other book that we have, you know, you just got Pup Van Winkle. That's my wife's book, you know, that she just wrote and put through. So it really shows like how much, Jerome has. If we had like money, if we made any money on these things, he would be a paid staff member, right? We don't make any money, so that doesn't happen. But if we ever did, Jerome makes money. You heard it here first. But yeah, no, he's so great, and he's so excited. He's just as excited about these projects as I am. You know, and we're both stressed at the same time, right? We're going to this new level where, hey man, let's do all these Kickstarter books. Oh, also Diamond has all these things that we need. We need deadlines to hit all these Diamond things, as well as our massive, because I do probably more Kickstarter books than most people, right? I think we're ending at 6 this year. Let me count. I think it's 6. Is it 6? Oh my God. Yeah, we did Grand State Punk 1 and 2, Voodoo Nations, Pup Van Winkle, Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, and you know, Holiday Spirits too. So that's a book every 2 months this year. And that's not counting stuff that you know that I'm part of, like Tales of the Collective or other stuff that me and Jerome are also part of. No Contest, things like that aren't official Orange Cone books, but aren't shown, like, put together. So it's been crazy as a publisher going to this next level, and without someone like Jerome, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, like you honestly, out of all the people I know in Kickstarter land, you've got to be one of the top volume wise. It's crazy how often a new book here is coming out, and it's funny because before the show, I was asking about Holiday Spirits and being like, I'm pretty sure you have a book on Kickstarter, right? And I've already pledged to it, and I forgot it was a thing.
Well, and even that, when you asked me, like, I had to think if there was anything else, because it's been that kind of year, right? It's been so crazy this year. It's been that kind of year. So I want to make sure that I honor stuff and do everything. But, you know, this book is killing it. I can't announce them, but I got to tell you, man, the people we have who are going to do the Fords are like kings of horror, kings and queens of horror. So it's wild, some of the stuff that we've got.
Yeah, and I'm going through your tiers right now. And I mean, I like how your tiers have gotten simplistic, and I mean that in a good way. Very much like keeping with, there's not like a random tier in here that's like, also get the Holiday Spirits underwear set, like, you know, weird stuff that guys throw in there. But the one thing I see it's missing, and I'd be curious to know if it's available, is you did the Christmas in July one shot. Mm-hmm. Is that available anywhere through this if people have not read Holiday Spirits before? Currently
not. Our goal is, so we ran out. We sold so well on the website, and Jerome has sold out too. So we're sold out. I think we have like 3 copies. I think I have 3 and he has 2. So I think there's 5 copies available. So what we're going to do the minute we fund, so we know we have extra, we'll go ahead and add that. But we don't want to take away from what we need to pay back the contributors and print, because the 8,000 covers that. So the minute we fund, I'll add that as an add-on.
Awesome.
Yeah. But thanks for asking. Good question.
So everybody out there, when you go and check out the Kickstarter, it's, you know, you can get both volumes. As Travis just said, he's trying to get you the Christmas in July one shot as well, which is awesome. And other than that, like your tiers are clean. I love the variant covers you have. The Dr. Seuss variant cover is just so good, so perfect.
Right? And look, it's got Jerome's name on it. I made him. He originally put Travis Gibb, and Jerome, and I was just like, no, Dr. Seuss doesn't do that. It's just Dr. Seuss. So you got to pick one person, Jerome, and it's got to be you.
Yeah, and it's a cool book. I mean, it's definitely different from the other stuff you do. Because I don't think any other books are horror based.
I mean, Voodoo is probably the closest.
Yeah, I don't think of that as a horror. I mean, I guess, yeah, it's a horror book because it has like horror elements, but I don't think of it as a horror book.
Yeah. Voodoo and Granite State Punk is close to that, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm simplifying horror because this is kind of like slasher horror almost.
Yeah. This is, I mean, depends on the story, but yeah, there's a lot of slasher horror.
Yeah. So I liked Volume 1, even though all the trouble we had trying to get me a copy of it, but I liked Volume 1.
Did you end up getting like 3 copies when it all translated?
I think I have like 2 or 3 now. I gave one away to my local comic shop, as I promised you I would.
And they threw it in the trash. They're like, who's Travis Gibb? And then you're like, no, Jonathan Hendricks in that. He wrote Recount. Oh, I can sell that. Here, let me drink that out.
And then the Christmas in July one, I remember I bought off their website and I refused to read it until July. So
nice.
That was a good one too. And yeah, it's a good anthology book. I think honestly, to everyone out there to put it, and this isn't me just kissing Travis's ass because he's a friend and he's standing here, but like the way you put together an anthology, I really enjoy because they are short stories. That's what anthology is. But like you said, you do that overarching story that kind of brings it all together, which makes the anthology feel more complete as opposed to like something you get at Marvel, DC, or anywhere at that, where it's just like a bunch of random stories that don't really have a connecting thread that you can go with.
Right. Yeah, and I tend to do. They tend to be simplistic, depending on the stuff. But I think that it makes it better, right? It makes it so all stories are important. Because a normal anthology, you can go, well, I didn't like that story, so that's not important. Well, you want to read them all because they're all important to the overarching story. So
yeah, it's not like when you buy. I mean, the example that comes to mind because of recent events, but you buy DC Pride 2020 too,
right?
And it's like, oh, I bought that for Kevin Conroy's story. Like, yeah, there's other good stories in there, but like, that's why I bought it.
And a lot of people do that, right? You buy it for that one person. And I'm sure people, buy the holiday experience, but the goal is that you'll buy it for other people. And I think that, Jerome has done a very good job of mixing prose in here, with people who are up and coming, Brian Hawkins, who has an Aftershock book, Stoney Williams, who had a Mad Cave book, Matt and Steph, who have, Misfits Clubhouse with Scoot over there, Kurt Belcher has a Source Point book with, people like John Durgan, who's got, a bunch of stuff in the author run. He's a great writer in New Hampshire. Tom Ravard, who has nothing but his art style is crazy. I think he does a great job of showing you some new talents with talent that you can trust and build stuff.
And have you guys announced any stretch goals?
We have not. No, we don't announce them till we get them, till we get there. But there's some cool stuff if we get there. It's a little bit slower than I'd like, but we're on track to getting it. We got 16 days left. We're at 6,000. We only need 2,000 more to fund. 2,500. Sorry, 2,500 to fund. We'll get there. People are excited. We had a lot of backers on the last one, so hopefully we'll keep that momentum going on this one.
You're very close to funding, so it's looking good. Well,
we're waiting on Mike. We would have been there if Mike would have backed by now. But so,
I should have gotten him here for you today because usually if you get him on the stream, you can like bully him into backing it.
That's the real goal, is to bully people into backing books.
Yes. That's what Kickstarter's for, everybody.
Right. That's what Kickstarter's for.
So, Travis, Love sitting down and talking with you. Really appreciate the time, but it has been like an hour and a half now.
Yeah, and not counting the half hour we talked beforehand. So, like,
yes.
We've been here a while.
So, I know you're probably getting sick of me and you want to go back to your wife. So, once again, everybody, there's the book from Band of Barbs, Coins of Judas. Check that out in your previews. And then the Holiday Spirits Volume 2 at Kickstarter. But where's the best place we can send people to follow you after the show?
TravisGibb.substack.com. So that's the best place to find me because I always do great Substacks. I've been doing I've been doing really well. I mean, you read my Substack where I'll do a selling one, and then as a reward for making you deal with the selling, I'll tell you some stories, right, of like how something was created or what's going on. So I try to balance it out as well as creation. And then if you're a paid Substack member, you get all sorts of stuff. Like the paid Substack members get to read Red State Punk 2, Coins of Judas, and No Contest before it was released. So we're doing stuff for everybody.
Yeah, and are you going to continue to do the Substack create a comic thing that you did with Pup Van Winkle?
Well, so that was a Pup Van Winkle. That's a book that hasn't come out. We are doing it. So we are still doing it and still working on it on the thing, but we're still working through that comic, and it's called How the World Ended in 2012. We're a little bit behind because really the diamond stuff just killed me. So I haven't gone back to it, but pretty soon we're going to be picking an artist for that. That'll probably be a next year development book and a book for 2024. So you definitely want to hop on. But you do get the Substack exclusive covers, which is cool. So every time we do a Kickstarter, and like you pointed out, we do a lot more than normal people. So you get like 6 free covers if you back, as well as the stuff I just told you. Pre-releases on things, announcements on things. I tend to show covers and art of things before we get there. So
awesome. So everybody out there, as always, links will be in the show notes to the previews catalog for Coins of Judas, to the Kickstarter, and of course Travis's Substack. So thanks, man, for taking time out of your day today, and
yeah, no problem.
Look forward to next time, man.
All right, talk to you later.